The text came at 12:43 a.m., its glow slicing through the darkness of my downtown loft in Seattle. Sweetheart, we need to talk about Christmas. Your sister Chloe has everything perfectly planned, and she feels it's best if you don't come. I froze, rereading the message, as if the words might rearrange themselves into something sane. My name is Emma Caldwell, I'm 34 years old, and I had just received the coldest message imaginable from the parents whose mortgage I paid off 6 months ago. Another ping. Chloe says your presence might make things awkward. She's inviting some big names from her firm, please understand. Of course, Chloe had said that. My younger sister had always been the family's star, the charming one who just needed time to find her path. Even when she quit law school halfway through or racked up $60,000 0 cents on my parents' credit cards for networking trips, they worshipped her. Meanwhile, I'd spent 15 years grinding in tech, living in jeans and thrifted coats, funneling every dollar into savings. When Mom and Dad nearly lost their lakefront home thanks to Chloe's debts and their own bad investments, guess who they called? Me. I wired $520,000 0 cents without blinking, emptying my brokerage account and selling the small rental property I'd worked a decade to buy. We'll pay you back, Emma, you saved us, that's what they said, crying into my shoulder. You're our rock. Now, half a year later, I was being disinvited from Christmas in the very house I'd saved, because Chloe wanted to play hostess for her colleagues. Another message chimed. Chloe's planned a sophisticated evening. She's really blossomed into such an elegant woman. Blossomed? The same woman who once called me a control freak for asking when she'd return the $8,000 0 cents I lent her? The same sister who accused me of being stingy for refusing to co-sign her 4th car loan after she trashed the previous 3? They called it keeping the peace whenever I held Chloe accountable. When I spoke up about responsibility, I was negative. I sat at my desk and opened the safe. Inside was a slim folder, one they didn't know existed. 6 months ago, when I saved their home, my attorney had insisted on something ironclad. They'd been so desperate for help, they signed without hesitation. My phone buzzed again. This time, I smiled. This time, it was Chloe herself. Hey sis, hope you understand about Christmas. My boss and his wife are coming, and I really need to make a good impression. You can be intense sometimes. Then the follow-up. But we can totally do lunch next week. Intense. Because at our last family dinner, I'd suggested she start paying our parents back instead of spending her salary on designer handbags. Because I'd mentioned that maybe her 3rd job hop in 2 years wasn't the best timing to buy another luxury SUV. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and typed a single word into the family group chat. Okay. Then I called my lawyer. Mark, sorry to wake you, but start the proceedings. The house, he asked. Yes. No, I don't want to wait until after the holidays. I could almost hear Chloe's voice in my head, laughing, calling me dramatic, telling Mom and Dad I was jealous of her success. But I wasn't being dramatic. I was done being the quiet one. After hanging up with Mark, I opened a folder on my desktop labeled Evidence. Inside were months of screenshots, text threads, bank statements, photos, transfers from our parents' retirement fund to cover Chloe's temporary cash flow issues, withdrawals from their home equity line to float her failed ventures, credit card statements for 5-star hotel stays, while Mom begged me to cover property taxes. My phone lit up again. Mom this time. Please don't be upset, sweetie. This is so important for Chloe's career. She's finally finding her path. We'll celebrate with you later. Later, like all those other times, the vacations I wasn't invited to because Chloe needed quality time. The Christmas mornings where my achievements were background noise to Chloe's latest scheme. Every time I'd been asked to shrink, to step aside, because Chloe needed the spotlight. But this year would be different. Because I had something they didn't know about. Something that would make the word consequences very real. I picked up my phone and texted Mark one last time. Then the papers first thing in the morning. And Mark, make sure they arrive during Chloe's perfect Christmas dinner. Then I opened another tab and booked a first-class ticket to the Maldives. Merry Christmas, Chloe. I'd always wanted to watch the Pacific shimmer at sunrise, and now felt like the perfect time to start putting myself first. Let Chloe have her flawless Christmas soiree. Something told me it wouldn't end quite the way she planned. Christmas morning came with a storm of notifications lighting up my phone. By then I was already at SeaTac Airport, sipping an oat latte in the first-class lounge. What is this legal notice? Call us immediately. Yeah? Emma, you can't do this to us. This is our home. Well, you're insane. You're ruining everything. Chloe. I smiled, picturing the agreement they'd signed half a year ago, the one that clearly stated they had 6 months to either purchase the house from me at market value or begin paying rent at the going rate. The notice they'd just received? It was a formal reminder of those terms, plus the clause they agreed to. Failure to comply would trigger immediate eviction proceedings. My phone rang. Chloe. My boss and his wife will be here in 4 hours. How could you do this? Mom's sobbing, Dad's freaking out. Chloe, I said calmly, I'm surprised you care about the house. Didn't you brag at dinner last month that you were closing a massive deal that would make you set for life? That's different. You know how these things take time. Time, yes, like the 3 years you've lived rent-free while I paid the mortgage, or the time you maxed out their cards and never paid them back. That's not fair. I was building my brand. In the background, I could hear Mom clattering pans, probably stress cooking for Chloe's perfect party. Dad was yelling about calling their lawyer. The papers are clear, I said. 2 choices, buy the house or pay rent. I've given you more than enough time. We can't afford either. Chloe's voice cracked into a screech. You could, I replied smoothly, if you sold your Tesla, your designer bags, and that Aspen timeshare you bought while our parents were on the brink of foreclosure. Silence. Then a hiss. You've always been jealous of me, just because Mom and Dad love me more. No, Chloe, I said softly. They don't love you more. They fear you more. The tantrums, the guilt trips, the control, that ends today. A boarding call echoed through the lounge. Listen, I have to go. My flight's boarding. If you want to see what happens when Chloe's perfect Christmas dinner turns into chaos and how Emma's Maldives escape sets the stage for an even bigger twist, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for part 2. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice calm but edged with steel. You have until January 15th to either buy the house at market value or start paying rent. If not, you'll all need to find somewhere else to live. I paused, letting that sink in before adding the final blow. Oh, and Chloe, that trust fund you think you're getting from Grandma? You might want to check the terms again. She and I had a very enlightening conversation last week. I heard her sharp intake of breath. Our grandmother had always been the one person who saw through Chloe's act. And last week, I told her everything. The stealing, the manipulation, the way Chloe had been bleeding our parents dry. You wouldn't. I already did. Goodbye, Chloe. Enjoy your perfect Christmas. I ended the call and powered down my phone as the boarding announcement echoed through the lounge. Sliding into my first-class seat, I let out a slow breath. Tomorrow, my lawyer would deliver more than a notice. He'd be dropping a folder thick with evidence. Chloe's financial abuse, the forged signatures on credit applications, the accountant's report detailing how she gutted our parents' retirement. This wasn't just about money. It was about breaking a cycle that turned my parents into enablers and Chloe into a tyrant. They couldn't say no to her, so I had to. The flight attendant offered champagne. I accepted, watching Seattle shrink beneath the clouds. On my screen, one last message from Mom glowed. Emma, please, we can work this out. Your sister needs us. She's just going through a phase. Don't do this to your family. A phase. That's what they'd called it for 15 years. But phases end. This one had gone on long enough. I closed my eyes, picturing Chloe scrambling to explain to her boss why her sophisticated Christmas dinner had erupted into chaos. For once, she'd have to live in the real world, not the Instagram-ready illusion she curated. Sometimes love means letting the consequences land where they belong. As the plane angled toward the Maldives, I felt a calm I hadn't known in years. For the first time, I wasn't saving Chloe. I was saving my family from her. 2 weeks later, I sat on the sun-washed deck of my private villa when Grandma's name flashed across my phone. "You should see the chaos you left behind," Grandma chuckled over the phone. Chloe's perfect boss saw everything, the legal papers, her meltdown, everything. That promotion she wouldn't shut up about, gone. I took a slow sip of coconut water, watching the sun sink into the turquoise horizon, streaking the ocean with molten gold. "How are Mom and Dad?" I asked. "Finally waking up," she said. "Your father found Chloe's secret credit card statements, the ones showing she's been taking out cash advances in their names. He's furious. First time I've ever seen that progress." My father had never been truly angry at Chloe before. Disappointed, yes, but never this. "And the house?" "That's why I called." Grandma's voice softened. "They want a meeting, all of them, Chloe included. I think you should come home." I had been expecting this. My 3-week escape was nearly over anyway. "I'll be back tomorrow. Tell them to meet me at my place the day after." "And Grandma?" "Yes, sweetheart? Thank you for standing with me." "Oh, Emma," she said warmly. "I've been waiting 15 years for someone to stand up to Hurricane Chloe." 2 days later, I stepped into my downtown Seattle condo. They were already there. Mom looked drained, Dad looked smaller somehow, and Chloe was unrecognizable. Gone were the designer heels and perfect blowout. She sat on my couch in jeans and a plain sweater, face scrubbed bare, stripped of the armor she always wore. I set down my keys and spoke before anyone could start. "I have something to show you." Opening my laptop, I pulled up 3 documents: a property listing, a business plan, and a brochure. "Option 1, I said evenly. "A smaller house, well within your budget if you sell most of your current furniture, and Chloe's luxury items for the down payment." I clicked to the next. "Option 2. Dad, remember that accounting firm you always dreamed of? Here's a full business plan to make it happen." Then the last slide. "Option 3. Chloe, this is a treatment center specializing in financial therapy and compulsive spending. They have an excellent program for chronic liars, too." She opened her mouth to protest, but Dad raised his hand, silencing her for the first time in my life. "I will let your sister finish." I looked at them all. "You can't keep the house unless you follow these terms. But this isn't punishment. It's a chance to rebuild. This time, the right way." Mom's eyes brimmed with tears. "Emma, when we found those cards Chloe opened in our names, we could face charges. We've been so blind. Our retirement is gone. We've been such fools," Dad said quietly, his voice cracking in a way I'd never heard before. "I've already spoken to the credit card companies," I told them. "They won't press charges if Chloe enters the treatment program and sets up a repayment plan. Grandma and I will help with the initial costs." Chloe stood slowly, her face collapsing under the weight of reality. "Why are you helping me, after everything I've done?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, I saw not the hurricane, but the little girl who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. "Because you're my sister," I said softly. "And because I believe that version of you is still in there, and she's worth saving." Dad cleared his throat. "We've chosen the smaller house. Your mother and I, we need a fresh start." Chloe's tears spilled over. "And me? I'll do the program. I don't want to be this person anymore." Watching my boss's face when he saw those papers, seeing what I did to our family, I finally saw myself through someone else's eyes. "It won't be easy," I warned. "No phones, no credit cards, no outside money for a month. Total financial transparency." "I know," she whispered. "I'm scared, but I'm more scared of losing my family." Mom stood, her own tears flowing, and wrapped her arms around me. "No conditions, no guilt trips, just love." "We don't deserve you, Emma." "This isn't about deserving," I said. "It's about healing." For the next hour, we'd mapped out the plan. Dad would launch the small accounting firm he'd always dreamed of. With a properly documented loan from me, Mom agreed to sell her designer collection to help with the down payment on the new home. Chloe would check into treatment next week. As they prepared to leave, Chloe lingered. The trust fund? Did Grandma really change it? I smiled faintly. No, but you needed to understand what was at stake. The money will be there when you're ready, after treatment, after making amends. She nodded and hugged me, awkward but real. I'm sorry, Emma, for everything, especially Christmas. I know. Now prove it. After they left, I stood by the window as snow drifted against the city lights. My phone buzzed, Grandma's message. Proud of you, sweetheart. Sometimes the biggest act of love is saying no. I smiled, remembering the Maldives sunrise. Sometimes you have to fly far away to see things clearly at home. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't revenge. It's giving someone the chance to change. Even if that chance arrives wrapped in legal papers on Christmas Day. I want to hear from you. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Would you have let things slide again for the sake of family harmony? Or would you have drawn the line like I did? Drop your thoughts in the comments because your perspective matters more than you think. To everyone who's ever been labeled too intense, too dramatic, or too much for standing up for themselves, this story is for you. We are conditioned to keep the peace, even when it costs us our happiness and our sanity. But here's the truth I learned. Peace without boundaries is just silence in disguise, and silence destroys families faster than any argument ever could. If you've been carrying the weight of fixing everyone else's mess, I want you to hear this. Your worth is not measured by how much chaos you absorb. Sometimes love looks like saying no. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for the people you care about is to let them face the consequences of their own choices. It's not cruelty, it's accountability. So, if this story resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and join me on this journey, because the next chapter, it's bigger than anything you've seen yet. Support me by leaving a comment. For Chloe, what advice would you give her as she begins her treatment? And share your advice for anyone stuck in the cycle of enabling toxic behavior. What's one boundary you've set that changed your life? Remember this, boundaries are not walls. They're bridges to healthier relationships. And sometimes, the only way to protect your peace is to take the hardest step first. Subscribe, share your wisdom below, and let's keep this conversation going, because change starts when we speak up.